Hi, and welcome to this Notion Meal Planner tutorial. In this video, I'll show you how to build my meal planner from scratch. If you're not sure what it looks like or how it works, you should first check out my meal planner tour, which is linked below, and will tell you everything you need to know about how I use this planner for my family and to lighten my mental load. If you're ready to jump in and create your own meal planner, let's get started. This tutorial is designed for people with a basic understanding of Notion, but even if you have zero Notion experience, you should be able to follow along as I try to break down every step. Even if you don't end up using this planner, it's a great way to get your head around Notion features and capabilities. If this is all a bit much, don't worry, you can just access the template for free without building it yourself. As always, please feel free to leave any questions and comments below, and please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Okay, let's dive in. So as you can see, I've got all my personal databases here in the menu, but we're going to create a brand new page by clicking this little cross here. We're going to call this page Meals Dashboard with a little T for template to differentiate it from my personal meals dashboard. Next, we're going to add the subpages we need. First, click on Empty Page, then hover around until you see these 6 dots, click to the right and type /page. This first page is our recipes database. In Notion, pages can be one of two types, what I like to call a multi-block page or a full-page database. Our recipes database is a full-page database, which means that's the only thing that will be on this page. So we're going to click Table, as that's the type of database that we want. The options below that are also full-page databases and are just different ways of viewing the same data. You can pull data into this table from an existing database, but in this case we want something brand new, so we'll click New Database. And I'm going to add an icon by clicking Add Icon. And let's type in Book, and pick this one, and we're going to make it green to keep everything nice and fresh. Let's head back to the meal dashboard by clicking on this breadcrumb, and I'll add an icon here too, which is the meal icon, and we'll make it green again. Then we're going to add other pages by clicking this plus sign to the left of the 6 dots and typing /page again. So the next one is the ingredients database. Let's select a full-page database, table view with a new data source. And I like to use a chili as the icon for this one. There it is, and in green. Let's go back to the dashboard and do the same thing again. /page, and this time we are adding our groceries list. This is not a full-page database, so just click Empty Page. The icon for this one is a little basket, so let's find that. There it is, and in green. And let's go back to the meal dashboard and add one more page, so /page. And this is our meal planning page. Again, it's a full-page table view database, also with a new source. And the icon for this one is a little calendar, and in green. So now we have the structure of our planner. Let's go in and customize each page. Let's start with the recipes database. Here is our basic table. Let's start adding columns, which from now on I'll refer to as properties. We've already got name and tags, which can stay. Let's add a URL property by clicking this little plus sign and selecting or typing URL. This will be the URL for recipes you find online. Next, we'll add a number property. So click the little plus again and either type or select number. This will be the number of original servings. Let's type that in. All right. Next, we'll add another number property. This is our recipe multiplier. You'll know what this is if you watch the tour. So let's name it, and that's done. Let's resize these columns a bit, and I like to have the URL before the tags. That's just a personal preference. You can do it however you'd like. So now let's add a formula property. This is generally considered an advanced feature, but once you understand the basic logic, it's really not too hard. If you want to understand formulas in depth, I suggest William Nutt's tutorial. For now, you can just copy and paste the formulas that I give you. So select formula as your property type, and let's rename that to new servings. And now click Edit, and you'll get a box where you can enter the formula. All the formulas I use are in the description below, but what I'm doing here is multiplying the original number of servings by the recipe multiplier. Both of these numbers are properties in our database, so the formula uses the function prop with brackets to grab each number. So now we have a property for the number of servings you will actually cook for a given recipe. Let's resize that one a bit as well. Let's go back to the meals dashboard and we'll edit the ingredients database next. So here we are back on our ingredients page. First, let's get rid of the tags property. Next, we'll add a number property and let's call it original amount. So there we go, number, and let's rename it. This is the amount of the ingredients as required by the recipe. Next, another formula property. We'll call this scaled amount. This is the amount you'll use when you cook the recipe. So if you're doubling your servings, your scaled amount will double. We'll come back to this in a minute. Next, we'll add a select type property. Unlike a multi-select property, you can only choose one option per cell or leave it blank. This will be our ingredient units. We can add a few to start, so click Add Option and we'll do milliliters and tablespoons. You can add more units of measurement as you add new ingredients. Next is another select property, and this will show whether you have an item in stock. So there are 4 options. Click Add an Option and we'll add in stock, out of stock, in stock by more, and by. We're going to change the color of these labels by clicking the arrow on the right to make them more appropriate. So by will be red, in stock by more will be pink, out of stock will be yellow, and in stock will be green. Okay, next is another select property, and this time it's for storage. So there's 3 options: pantry, fresh, and frozen. And we're also going to change the color of these labels to be more appropriate. So pantry can stay yellow, fresh should be green, and frozen should be blue. All right, next we're going to add a relation. This type of property lets you pull data from another database. In this case, we want to pull in the name of the recipe that is linked to this ingredient. So let's select property type relation, and this list of other databases will appear. Start typing the name of the database we want and select it. So in this case, we want the recipes database. Then you're going to click Add Relation. And there is your relation. The last 2 properties are rollups. So where a relation property will only pull in data, if you want to do calculations with that data, you need to use a rollup. Before you can use the rollup property, you need to have created a relation. Luckily, we have done just that. So we're going to pull the data into 2 columns from the recipes database. click the little plus sign and type out rollup. So once you've selected rollup, you need to specify the relation you want to use. In this case, there's only one, the recipes database, so click that. And we're going to rename our property to original servings, as that's what we're going to be pulling in. Go down to property and select the original servings, and under calculate, use sum. We need to use this to end up with a number in our column so that we can use it for our scaled amount formula. Be aware that if you have two recipes with the same exact name, this rollup will add the numbers up together. Okay, let's do the same thing again for new servings. So select rollup, then select your relation, which is recipes database. It's the only one there. Your property this time is new servings, and your calculation is a sum. And don't forget to name your property. We'll name it new servings. Okay, now we can go back to the scaled amounts formula. So select edit property and then edit under formula. Again, the formula is in the description below, but what we are doing here is multiplying the original amount by the new servings and dividing by the original servings. I'm then going to add an if condition at the front of the formula so that if new servings are 0, then the scaled amount will just default to the original amount. And we need a bracket on the end, and we can click done. So that's your ingredients database complete. Let's go back to our dashboard. Let's skip over the groceries list for now and go to meal planning. We've got our usual default columns, and let's put in the properties we need. So our title column is going to be a bunch of dates, but these are not dates that Notion can actually use on a calendar. Essentially, I found that Notion was a bit glitchy when I used actual dates in the title column. So the real dates will be in the second column. The other issue here is that it would be very time consuming to type in each date individually. So I use Excel to copy and paste my dates in. So let's grab a blank Excel sheet. Let's type in today's date. Please note this is the non-American date format. And then in the cell below, type in equal, and then click the cell above and type +1. That gives you the next day. Now let's drag this formula down as far down as you want. Let's go to April 30th. I'll just copy this whole column over to edit it. And the first thing I'm going to do is to reformat the column into my preferred format, which is year, month, day. So go to Format Cell, click Custom, and the format is YYYY-MM-DD. This is a personal preference. You don't need to reformat the date if you don't want to. Now we're going to hit Control-C or Command-C on a Mac and go back into our database and paste them in the title column. So click New, and then click once outside the cell to get that little white circle, and then Command-V or Control-V, and you'll paste all your dates in one go. You can see we've got all the dates to April 30th. We're going to do the same thing in the next column. The first thing we need to do is change the property type of the column from multi-select to date. Then we can rename the property to meal date. Now click in the first cell and then click outside the cell and Command-V or Control-V again. So now we've got real dates that will show up in the Notion calendar view. Okay, let's add a formula. This is going to give us weekdays. Again, all formulas are included in the description below. So select formula. Let's rename it to weekday. edit the formula, paste in the formula, and click Done. You can see our weekdays have auto-populated. Next, we're going to add a select property. This will be our meals. So let's add 3 options: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm doing it in reverse order, so I don't need to reorder them. Let's make sure we get the name in. So we're naming this meals. So right now we have just one set of dates, and those will all be lunches. So select lunch and then click the white circle and drag down so that the lunch type gets applied to every date. Next, we're going to add dinners. So go back to Excel, copy your dates again, and then back in Notion, click New, and click outside the cell once, and then copy paste, and then paste again. And we'll make these dinners, so choose dinner, and then drag down the little white circle all the way until April 30th again. There we go. And we'll do the same thing one more time for breakfasts. So paste your dates again, and then select breakfast and drag that all the way down. Okay. We're now going to add 2 sorts: meal date, so that we've got 3 meals grouped together for a given day, and meal type, so that our meals occur in the correct order: breakfast, then lunch, then dinner. All right, we're going to add a few more properties. So the next property we're going to add is another select property, and this will be for the chef. So I'm just going to add myself and my partner. And let me just resize these columns. And next we're going to add a relation to the recipes database. This is a very important one, as this is what you will use to select your meals for a given day. It also drives a few more properties in the recipes database. So select relation, choose the recipes database, and this is super important. Toggle this on so that you have a two-way relationship between the 2 databases. So when you select a recipe in this database, a meal date will appear in the recipes database. Okay, let's add in some date-based formulas to help drive our weekly and monthly views. So firstly, next 30 days. Open that formula box and paste in the formulas. Click Done. Let me resize that column a little bit. We don't want to take up room unnecessarily. And then the next formula will be for the next 7 days. So once you've put the title in, open the formula box, and it's the same formula. I'm just going to change one little parameter. And then click Done. You can see blue ticks next to the dates that are in the current month and current week. Our last formula is to show whether a recipe has been linked for a given meal or whether it still needs to be planned. So let me paste that formula in there, and you can see that all of our meals still need to be planned. The last thing we're going to do is to rename this view. So from table to all meals. And we'll be adding some additional views to this database shortly. Okay, let's head back to our dashboard. Let's go back to the recipes database. We need to add a template and one more formula. A template is a page with predefined blocks that you can use over and over, and which will save you time and ensure consistency. Click on the arrow of the blue drop-down and select New Template. We'll call this Add Recipe. You can see all of the properties from the recipes database are listed here. Let's reorder them so it makes more sense. Original servings should come first. Then we'll have our multiplier and our new servings. Okay, let's edit the body of our template. First, we'll have an area for recipe instructions. Let's make the title bold and just leave a little bit of room underneath. Next, we'll have our ingredients. This is probably the most important part of the database, as it will let you add ingredients automatically linked to this recipe. So let's add a linked view of the ingredients database. /linked, select ingredients as your data source. We can use a table view, and we will rename the table to enter ingredients. Let me resize these columns and get rid of a few of them that we don't need for this particular view. So scaled amount, we can get rid of. I'll resize units. We'll keep stock and storage. We'll get rid of the linked recipe, the original servings, and the new servings. Okay, now this is the most important part. We're going to create a filter for the recipes database. So click Recipes Database, and then select this template. By doing this, you'll ensure that all of your ingredients will be linked to the new recipes that you create. This is called a forcing function, and Thomas Frank does a great job of explaining it. Now we're going to create another view which you will use when you're cooking. It's still pulling from the ingredients database, so let's reuse the view we just created by duplicating it and naming it Cook Recipe. You can see both views on this dropdown. We'll get rid of original amount and swap it out for the scaled amount, which you can find under your properties, and just scroll down and make it visible. And we'll move it up so that it's next to our units. Okay, so now that we have our template, we're going to go back and make it our default template. So click back. Whoops, we don't want the navigation menu. Back, and then back again, or just click out of it. And then select Add Recipe, Set as Default Template. There you go. Let's now do one quick thing. For the URL column, I don't want the text to be wrapped, as that will make the cell huge, so let's toggle that off. And we're going to add one more property to the recipes database. Firstly, here you can see the relation that we created to the meal plan database. Let's add a roll-up on top of that relation. So select property type roll-up. Your relation is the meal plan database. Your linked property is next 7 days. And this is a checkbox property, so you want to select under calculation, checked. So if a recipe is happening twice in the next 7 days, the number 2 should appear in this column. And let's not forget to rename this property. I'll name it number in the next 7 days. There we go. Now we can head back to our meal dashboard, and we're going to edit our groceries list. So unlike other pages, this is not a full page database. It will just have a few custom views of our ingredients database. So type /linked view and select the ingredients database and pick a table view. We're going to rename that to by, and this is going to be our shopping list. Let's hide the database title first, And then we're going to add a filter. So our stock filter should only show items that are buy and in stock buy more. We can hide the original amount because we want to buy the scaled amount. And I'm going to resize these columns again so it all fits on the page. We can get rid of original servings and new servings as well. I'm going to make this page full width so we don't need to scroll left and right to see our full table. Okay, next we're going to duplicate this view, and this one is going to be called Find Items, and the only difference is that the filter will include all of our stock labels. So when you're looking for an item to change the stock label, you would use this view to find it. Next, let's make a really quick template for grocery items. This is just so that any new items you create have an icon and are automatically labeled by. Basically, when I'm on the go and I remember that I need something which isn't in my ingredients list, this will ensure it'll end up directly in my shopping list. So I'm selecting an icon for this template, and I like to stick with the chili pepper. And I'll change stock to buy. Let's reorder these properties so they make more sense. We want the original and scaled amount at the top, then units, and we'll move original servings and new servings down, and we'll hide those two properties. And we'll set this template as default. Okay. I'm just quickly going to go back to the ingredients database as we forgot to resize these columns. Let's do that now. Now let's go back into our meal planning database and add a few more views. Let's duplicate the All Meals view and rename this view Enter Meals. So in this view, we are adding a filter so that we only see dates in the future, i.e. dates we need to plan meals for. So click Filter and select Meal Date. Select On or After from the drop-down. And then in this drop-down, select Today. This will be a dynamic filter that updates every day. Currently, there's not much difference between the All Meals and Enter Meals views, but that difference will grow as time goes by. In our linked recipe property, you can see 3 untitled recipes. These are rows which were automatically created in the recipes database when we generated the table. This is where you would select your recipe while in meal planning. We'll get rid of these shortly. The other filter we can add is Not Planned. So let's add this filter. Select Is Not Planned and then Checked. And then you're left with days that you haven't yet planned for. Okay, let's add another view. This time it's a full calendar view. So select Calendar and let's name this view Meal Calendar. Let's add in a few properties. I'm going to select the chef and the meal and the recipe. And I'm going to reorder my properties so meals comes first. You can see our meals are properly ordered in our options, but not in our calendar. So you want to create a sort for meal with the meal type ascending. And now you can see that our meals are in the correct order. Okay, I think it's time to add a recipe so we can see this planner in action. So back in the recipes database, let's add my weekly salad recipe. I'm going to add an icon which is a little salad. And then I'm going to put in my servings and my multiplier, which is just 1. And I'm going to add a few tags. So salad, main, easy. And I'm going to make sure that we're using our template. I'm going to skip over the instructions for now and just add in some ingredients. So we need tomatoes, let's say 1 tomato. I just use unit as the unit when it's a set number of the ingredient. And I'm going to create that unit now as we've never used it before. I need to buy the tomatoes and they are a fresh item. Let's make this a full page so we can see our full little database. So the next thing we need is a cucumber, and we need 1/2 of a unit. And I also need to buy those, and they are fresh. Next, we need chickpeas. And I'm going to say we need 50 grams, and the grams go under the units. So I'm creating that as well. And I do have those in stock, and they are in the pantry. Then we need some tuna fish. And again, we'll do 50 grams. And I also have some in the pantry. And the last thing we need is vinaigrette. And I'm going to say 10, there we go, milliliters. And I've got that in stock, and it's in the fridge. Okay, that's our recipe. Let's check to make sure these have ended up in our ingredients database. You can see all of my ingredients are here and they're linked to my recipe. Let's get rid of these blank rows which were automatically generated when we created the table. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, back to meal planning. Let's add in our recipe for lunch for the next few days. So go to Enter Meals and click in the cell for the correct day. So I'll add it here, and one more time on the following day. These blank recipes are a bit annoying, so let's go and get rid of those now. So back to our recipes database, and let's delete that row and that one. Great. And you can see that the 2 days where we've planned our recipes are showing up in the meal planning column. So back in our meal planning database, we've linked 2 recipes for lunch, but you can see they're not showing up in this view. That's because of the is not planned filter. So if I clear that, we can see the 2 meals that I've entered. The drop-down will remain there, so you can quickly refilter if you want to. Now let's add the chef, which is myself, and then let's go over to our meal calendar and just make sure that these recipes are coming through in the correct spot. Great. Now we're going to add another view. This is going to be a board view, and it's going to be our rolling week view. The first thing we want to change is the grouping. We want these grouped not by meal, but by meal date. We don't want relative dates, we want day. And we can keep oldest first as the sort, and we want to hide empty groups. We now want to add a subgroup. Our subgroup is going to be our meal. And then we're going to add a filter, which is the next 7 days, as this is our rolling week. So make sure that that is checked. And now we're going to add in some properties. So we want to see our recipe, the weekday, and the chef. And we want weekday to be at the top of the block. So let me reorder that. Great. The next thing we want to do is to get rid of this name property because we don't want to see that weird little date. So there's a bit of a trick to this. Come out of properties and go to layout. Change the card preview to page content. And while we're here, let's change the card size to small. Now I can go back to my properties and unselect the name column. I think that's a much cleaner view. The next thing we want to get rid of is this no meal subgroup. So go into your subgroup and toggle on hide empty groups. Okay, now we just have our 3 meals showing up on our rolling weekly view. Let's add in our weekday salad in a few more spots. I'm also going to enter in the chef. We'll give my partner one, and I'll do this last one. Okay, we have one more view to add, so let's duplicate the rolling week view. And we'll rename this to current week. This will show us the current Monday to Sunday week. I mainly use this to see what we've already eaten in a week. So we just need to change the filter. So we'll click meal date and select this week, and we'll get rid of my other filter, which is the next 7 days filter. Okay, that's done. Let's go back to the dashboard. The next thing we're going to do is to make our meal dashboard more useful. I like to use callouts to make my blocks stand out, and also because it's an easy way to create columns on a page. So add a new block and type /callout. Do the same thing a second time. Next, we're going to drag the second callout until you see a blue line to the right of the first one. Let's also make this page full width. Okay. Create a new block, which is a table of contents. So /table, and it's the last one. Drag that into the callout. This table of contents will auto-populate based on the blocks on this page. Let's put in some headings. So table of contents on the left, and on the right, we'll call that links to pages. I'm going to make this green. And I'm going to change the icon to something a little more appropriate. Let's use the link icon in green. And let's also make the table of contents green. And change the icon. I use a little list icon for this one. And also in green. Now I'm going to drag the page links into my callout. Hit enter a few times, and let's make the heading for our next section, which is our meal plan for the next 7 days. Let's start with a callout and then type in our heading. And let's select heading 2 as the type. This will ensure that our heading ends up in the table of contents, and we'll also make it green. Just below that, let's add a linked view of our meal planning database. So select meal planning, and we can reuse the rolling week existing view. And let's hide our database title. Next, I like to have a quick view groceries list, so let's link our ingredients database. Once we've done that, let's rename the view to Groceries. We're going to apply a filter for stock, and we only want to see our buy and in stock buy now labels. And let's hide the database title. I'm going to hide original amount because we want to buy the scaled amount when we're in the supermarket. I'm going to hide stock, and I'm going to hide the storage type. And we're going to hide original and new servings. Next, we'll add a linked view of our meal planning database. Okay. Nope, that should be a table view, so go to Layout and select Table. Let's filter, not for this week, but for the next 30 days. Select Next 1 month. And we also want to filter for dates where a meal is planned. We don't want to see blank dates. So select Is Not Planned, Unchecked. Okay. Let's now get rid of these properties and rearrange them so that they make a little bit more sense. So we can hide Is Not Planned. We can hide the meal type, as we've already got that as a heading. We can hide our date-based formulas. We want to bring the weekday to the left. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of the title column, but I can reorder my properties so it's last and will effectively be hidden from view. And let's resize these. I'm going to create 2 more call-out boxes to create my 2-column format. So now I'm going to drag my meal plan into the right column and my groceries into the left column. And I'm going to resize these a bit to make sure I can see all the information that I want. Let's get rid of this database title. And let's rename this Next 30 Days, as that is our filter. Okay, let's add some headings in those callouts. So Quick View Groceries on the left. And I'm going to make this a heading 2. And we'll also make this green. And on the right, we're going to call this Upcoming Meals. And let's also make it a heading 2 and make it green. All right, the last item on this dashboard is going to be a recipe gallery. So let's create a linked view of our recipe database. Instead of a table, we want to select gallery. Select page cover as your card preview and unhide the database title. That's another way to do it. Let's rename this view to All Recipes. When you get around to it, you can add a cover photo for each recipe, and this will make your gallery view much more appealing. Let's create a heading for this section, so one more call out, which I'll drag up here. And let me get rid of this little row, which is extra. So we're going to call this our Recipes Gallery. And I will also make this a heading 2. and make it green. So I just realized that these columns aren't quite right. So let me just resize that a little bit. There we go. Okay, back to our recipes gallery. Let's duplicate this view. And we're going to call this our salads view. And we're going to apply a filter for our salad tag. You can add more filtered gallery views as you create new recipes with new tags. Let's go into our recipe and we'll add a cover. So click Add Cover, change cover, click Unsplash, and we'll type in salad. There's a good one. And now our recipe gallery has a lovely photo. Scrolling up, you can see that our table of contents has been auto-populated. This will make navigation much easier on your phone. Okay, let's add a few more page covers to personalize our planner. I like to use the same picture across all pages with slightly different positions. This gives my planner a nice aesthetic consistency. Click Add Cover, change cover, go to Unsplash, and let's type in the keyword cooking. Here is a nice one. Now let's go to the recipes database and add the same picture. So click Add Cover, change cover, Unsplash, type in cooking, and there it is. And what I will do is reposition the picture so it's slightly different from the meal planning dashboard. And we're going to do the same thing on all of our other subpages. So let's do ingredients. And I'm going to reposition this one as well. Let's scroll down. Next, we'll do groceries. And lastly, our meal planning page. The very last thing that we're going to do is to add an iPhone widget to our home screen. You can see I have a bunch of these already. So press and hold your screen, then touch the plus sign at the top left. Search for Notion widgets. There are a few options, but you want the first one, the page option. Click Add Widget, and now click Done. Next, press and hold the new widget until the option to edit it comes up and choose that. Look for the page you want to link. You can type in the page title. And here is ours at the bottom, Meal Dashboard Tea. Okay, and here's our beautiful new widget. You can also do this for your groceries list. You can see I've got my list down at the bottom left. Okay, we are done creating this planner. Congratulations for making it to the end of this nearly hour-long tutorial. We've created what I think is a super practical meal planner, and maybe you've learned a few Notion tricks along the way. If you have any feedback or questions, please leave them in the comments section below. There's a ton of information in the description below, including the formulas I used, timestamps if you were looking for a specific spot in the tutorial, and links to more useful videos. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you're interested in other ways I use Notion to manage my household and my mental load, please check out my other Notion tours and tutorials. Thanks for watching!